loud. And here we are as I'm aligning all of my stuff up so I can sort of look at the camera. Gosh, I got like all kinds of, I'm a little glowy today. This is like pretty cool. I guess I'm angelic. Let's see. Let's swing that mic there. Do that.
Mute your
Howdy, everybody.
notifications.
What was that?
Mute your notifications.
Mute my notifications. Yes, because those things drive me nuts. It said, let's see, let's make it sure. Okay. Wow, I've had my do not disturb. This is interesting. I've had my do not disturb on, I think, since the last time we met, and yet I still get stuff. So, uh, let's see. Let's try for 1 hour. Let's try that. Or maybe it just, oh, I think what I did is it just, we're gonna find out. It's like, I think I got to work on that because I think my notifications are coming in when they shouldn't, and I got to go figure out what is override. Yeah, do not disturb on. Okay, we're gonna find out. If you hear a bunch of beeps, I'll cuss. We may edit it out. We may not. I can't. I don't know. Did you edit that out last time, or did we keep that in?
No,
You
I took
did.
it because
Okay.
it was a little longer than I liked, so I just chopped it.
So you guys missed out. There you go. You missed out on some really good, like behind the scenes stuff. But oh well. Actually, so did the podcast people because that was. I think we would have. It was right in the middle of that side of it. All right, so we are getting down to the end of this season. So let's say we've got basically got two more topics we want to cover before we wrap this sucker up. Do we have something we haven't thrown out yet that we want to? Let's see. Is there anything you have off the top of your head while I'm digging a little bit here?
Let's see. I don't think taxes are a good one because this is the developer journey, not the business setting up a business. Had lots of tax questions this week. I was reconciling my books. Now that
You know
I
what? That actually would be sort of a, I don't think tax questions, but we could do um like keeping track of your business, basically that kind of like, accounting types of things and stuff like that.
working on your business, not in your business,
This is
or
really on your business. Well, this is actually like this
or
is
the
the
other way.
back. This is like working on your business, but this is actually behind the scenes because working on your business, I typically think of as more like marketing and stuff like this. This is a little bit. This is working in the business, but behind the scenes. This is the non-billable working in the business. So it's the things like accounting and actually, I think accounting, invoicing, and billing because I don't think we've really talked about that. I'm sorry, I'm
This
flipping.
would go well with the pricing one we did. So that, yeah, I like that.
So let's, yeah, because I don't think we've actually talked about the actual invoicing side of it or anything like that. And I know we've talked about pricing, but we didn't really get into that. So let's go with invoicing for this one, or invoice. We'll go into accounting, and we'll hope people don't fall asleep, and we'll see how that goes. So, all right, that's where we're going to start with. Don't want to. Nah, I'll go. I was trying to decide if I wanted to grab a hat real quick, but because I'm like shining a little too much, a little too holy roller right now with this nice little bright glow going on. So you guys get the special version this time. Well, hello and welcome back. We are continuing the developer journey. We are building better developers. It is Developreneur. We are cranking through this season, almost there. I happen to be Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developreneur, Building Better Developers, also a founder of RB Consulting, where we do software consulting, business consulting. We look at ways to simplify, automate, and integrate your systems so that your technology sprawl and all of the related pain can be removed and reduced as you get a nice, instead of being in that stinky, smelly car going down the road that's about to fall apart, we're going to put that stuff back together and get you in that, like, F1 Formula Racer kind of thing. Good thing, bad thing. Let's see. Bad thing. Wow, I'm trying to think out if I talked about this last time. Oh, so I'll start with the good one and then I'll just flip into good thing. And you guys can look into this. There's a whole bunch of stuff. My son's given me some information. There's a bunch of stuff going around. There's stuff dealing with Adobe and their Creative Cloud and some of their subscriptions and stuff like that. Well, one of the things that I got the other day was something that said, "Hey, you can flip your subscription," which I happen to have been a subscriber for a long time for a bunch of different stuff. Like, hey, you can flip your subscription to this other thing that's 50% less, and it's not quite the same stuff that was the other one had, but it's actually a better fit to me. I was actually just digging. I was just looking, the other day. I was starting to look through that a little bit and say, there's a lot of stuff I don't use. So good thing is I get what I need, essentially all the same stuff I need for half the price each month. Bad thing, along the same lines, is I've been doing some financial straightening stuff out and things like that. And it's one of those, it's like automation is really nice for financial stuff. It's just like pay your bills online, do this, do that. Just don't even think about it. It is also a real pain when you let it just go for too long. And now you got to like roll it all back and clean it all up and figure out how I literally am financially technology sprawl. I have too many places, too many things going on, all these little deals I took advantage of, and all this little crap that is now, it's like it wasn't probably worth the deal. So it's like, no, simplify it all right back, integrate stuff. I'm going to get like, a nice little pipeline of money coming in, money going out, so I don't have to look 1,000 different places. So there's some good and some bad right there. And it may actually have something to do with our topic today. But I'm going to hold on because I want you guys to hold your breath and let Michael introduce himself. Go for it.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Malash. I'm one of the co-founders of Developer, Building Better Developers. I'm also the founder of Envision QA, where we help small to mid-sized businesses analyze their software stack, look at what their business needs are, and build the right software tool for their needs. Good and bad this week. I'll start with the bad. Went out, bought some TV antennas because my wife loves NASCAR, and Infinity Series has decided to move everything over to CW, which is only available over the air or on Hulu Live. Could not get that to work. So spent $300 for antennas, had to take it all back, and then had to go subscribe for Hulu Live. Tried YouTube TV and found out we're in the zone that is blacked out for YouTube TV. The only source was Hulu Live. So my TV bill just doubled again. Kind of love this. The good is I've been using this free financial tool called Wave Apps for many, many years to do my financial bookkeeping for my company books. Recently, they changed their tiers and things got a little funky. Today, I figured out how to get everything the way I wanted it, like I used to. So now I'm able to continue to use the tool. Did not have to go buy QuickBooks, thank God. And I'm back to reconciling my books, which kind of leads into our topic today.
Wow. We both had these, a little bit of a spoiler alert or whatever, but now we don't have to worry about spoiling it because now it is fresh. We're serving this right in front of everybody on the table. We're going to talk about the accounting side of your side hustle, of your business. We've talked about pricing, which is really not the accounting side. We're going to talk about invoicing and billing and some of those kinds of things. Now, Michael he'll give me like a nice little starter thing, which he mentioned the Q word, QuickBooks. Whether you use QuickBooks or FreshBooks or all the other tools out there, the first thing is I highly, highly, highly recommend that you pick a tool that you use for your side hustle for keeping track of all of your transactions. Separate from, just like we've mentioned before, you should have, when you're starting a business, have a separate account. There should be a straight business account, period. That's like, it's not your extra checking account or your other savings account or a credit card that you're just like, I'm just going to call that my business expenses. Now, maybe you put all your business expenses on that, but there should be somewhere a checking account, literally a checking account that is tied to your business that you drive everything through that. That is going to be key. Now, as part of that, you should have some sort of accounting software that you can use that is tied to that or that tracks that. So you can, I don't know, keep track of your bottom line, but also what you're going to need, depending on where you're at the very least, you're going to need to be able to do some sort of billing and invoicing, some sort of reports related to that, reports related to your income and expense, your final year stuff, filing taxes, potentially quarterly taxes if you need to do that, and maybe even payroll. So find a tool that is comfortable for you. like Michael said, he's like, he has been in wave accounting forever. And to change that would be a pain, not only for him as a user, but also because then he's got to move all the data and make sure that it moves right and all of that kind of crap. Nobody, trust me, you don't want to have to jump to a whole different system really ever in any situation. This is like across the board, basically. Something you don't want to do. It's not pretty. So when you look at a tool, take a look at where it can grow, because that's something you don't want to jump into. And a lot of people do this. They jump into some like, free little app that does something super simple for them, and it's cheap or like I said, cheap or free. I'm like, okay, cool. This will cover me right now. And then 6 months or a year from now, it doesn't cover me anymore. Because now suddenly, instead of something that only, that is great for having 5 customers, doesn't work when you have 500 customers, or it doesn't expand to having to track expenses from different places, or the number of vendors that you have, or it gets into, like, I don't want you guys to fall asleep talking about accounting stuff, but like classifications and things like that you have to worry about, including one of the big things you're going to find across the board is, does it have any integration with, electronic integration with like your bank accounts or other places like that, including electronic filing of taxes, which is required in some cases and in some certain places. So the other piece is the ability to calculate or file taxes for you. And this is not just your year-end taxes. It could be at other levels. And then payroll is another big thing. Actually, the fourth big thing that is probably more important than all of those, that a lot of these tools have some, they will work with you on it, is the ability to actually take payments. Now, you may have a Square account or something like that where you can run everything through it, but there are accounting software options out there where they also have, either directly or as part of an add-on, the ability to take payments, whether it's, through like credit cards, or some, I think, even have the ability to set up ACH and some things like that. So that's something you need to think about. I want to, before I pass it over to Mike, though, I also want to talk about the billing and invoicing side of it. We've talked about rates. This is about frequency and professionalism. Now, you can charge whatever it is. Let's just say you're a nice little developer and you charge $50 an hour. And we'll take two different things. Let's say you're charging $50 an hour, and at the end of a week you did 20 hours of work, and you want to go bill them for the $1,000, or 20 times 50 is 1,000. Just quick math for you people. Or let's say that you had $1,000 project that you billed them for. You're like, hey, we agreed it's going to be $1,000 project. Boom, I'm going to go ahead and bill you for it. Now, we have mentioned Upwork and Guru and some of these other sites. They a lot of times will help you with that piece of it. They do include in their offerings and things like that, sometimes a level of invoicing and billing and things of that nature. So you may be able to take that off the table. But let's assume for this exercise that you haven't, that you actually do need to send an invoice. And I have had people work for me at times where it has been like pulling teeth to get them to send me an invoice so I can say, yes, this is the work that came in, and I can tie it to a check, because I actually have proper accounting principles of some sort, as much as I can, being not an accountant. So what you will need to do, and sometimes you'll do things like POs and things like that. So talk to your customer. You should always have something, and you may be asked by the customer, how do you handle billing? So with that question, it's going to be, how frequently do you send one? Do you send them an invoice every month? Do you send them every week, every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, 15th at the end of the month, whatever? And a lot of times it's up to you. It's how you bill. Now, realize that if you wanted to bill every week, they may or may not pay those off every week. They may just, like, a month later, pay off 3 of them at once, and you get a check, and then you have to go back and track all of those. So the granularity of your billing is how you do stuff. And they just need to know that, hey, I'm going to send you an invoice every these on this schedule, and then follow up. It's just like when we talked about podcasts and blogs and things like that. You need to be scheduled. Now, you don't have to send it at 5 a.m. every Tuesday or something like that. But what you do need to do is do it, like, if you say it's every other week and I send it at the end of the week, every other week, you need to make sure that you send it at the end of the week, every other week. That they need to understand when to expect it. And then as part of that, there's also like, what are the terms, which are basically how soon do you expect that to be paid, which is critical. Because if you don't mention anything, you don't know it's up to that customer. And it could be some places will wait 90 days or more to pay a bill. That may be a problem for you, particularly if this is more than a side hustle and you need to like put food on your table. Now it can go as low as like some places like immediately, or maybe 7 days later, or within 2 weeks or something like that. Make sure you were clear on all of those kinds of things. These things I'm talking about, like how often are you going to bill them? What is the expectation for payments? And make sure that you are clear on that before you go into, especially a longer term kind of project. If it's a one and done, it's probably not going to be as big a deal, but it could be. And definitely if it's going to be something where you're going to get into a 3 or 6 or 12-month agreement, make sure that you are very clear on that. I will pause there and pass it over to Mike and see what are your thoughts on this, and maybe questions and some hints that you may have for people.
Yeah, so I know I initially in our introductions started talking about the QuickBooks and Waves. There are other ways you can keep track of your books. Even if you're just starting out, you need to record everything. So when I went through the whole rebranding process and relaunching process, I actually was having to keep 2 separate books because I still had the old company that was being phased out and had to reset and create a new ledger for the new company. Except since the new company didn't exist yet, it really didn't make sense to go out and spend a lot of money on expensive software to set up a new ledger. Ironically, typically all a ledger is a spreadsheet. So you can go get OpenOffice, Libre. If you have Excel, use Excel. Just keep track of what you're spending, what's coming in, what's going out initially. And then as you need to evolve the business, you move into other applications like Wave apps or FreeBooks, QuickBooks, whatever. As you're going through this process, like Rob mentioned, we also want to invoice our customers. We want to send out those nice, pretty invoices. Well, what he didn't mention is, yes, you can go get those other tools, but here again, you can use free tools for the process. Tools like Pages, Word, OpenOffice, a lot of these have good free templates for invoicing. Just go, hey, find a template. I want invoices. And then go pick one that works for you and just drop it in there. Add a logo, you're done. Minutes worth of time. Does not take that long. It may seem daunting at first, but once you get it done right, it's pretty much copy, paste, move on. But make sure you record those payments into your ledger. You don't want to not get paid. On top of that, though, as you're going through this process of working the business, you need to keep track of those bank accounts. You want to make sure you reconcile your income and your expenses with your ledger, because sometimes you may have those odd payments like I did initially, where everything was on a personal credit card because the business account didn't exist yet. I was still going through the process of getting the LLC, the S Corp. So I didn't really have the tax ID and all that to go set up a business account. Well, also, and lesson learned, as I got hacked again a month ago on my business account for some strange reason, because I don't use the card for anything. You want a credit card or a business card to charge those external expenses to, because if something does happen, you don't want to tie up your physical money while you're trying to reconcile any grievances or mischarges. So you do still need to keep track of where are you spending money outside of your business checking, because if you don't, and you don't see it on your ledger, you're going to forget to put it in there and not pay yourself. So you're going to go pay for something and not get deducted. Ran into that recently because I had those weird charges. I had to go literally, like Rob mentioned, with his subscriptions, I had to go through a whole bunch of different websites to say, okay, did I buy this? Did I buy this? I had it all written down, but it's like, where did these weird charges come from? Ultimately, they weren't mine. So it's one of those things. It's tedious, but if you stay on top of this, it's going to be easier. Now, the bad thing I did is, and a lot of business owners do this, we are reluctant to work in the business a lot. It's because really working on the business, that's where we get paid. That's where we make the money. Working in the business, we're not really getting paid. We're doing things that we don't feel is as productive because we're not getting paid for it. But it does make a difference, because if you aren't keeping an eye on those accounts, something weird like a miscellaneous charge could come in and then you don't catch it. Well, someone could essentially come in, drain your account, and then you're like, whoa, what happened? So kind of following up on your accounts at least once a week. You don't necessarily have to do it daily, but I find at least once a week, take a snapshot of your ledger, your bank account, compare the two, do some reconciliation. If you're a very active business or a very active side hustle, yes, this may take a little bit of time, but if you buy the right tools like QuickBooks or some of these other tools, they'll help you auto reconcile with your bank accounts, like Rob mentioned. So these are just some of the things you can do for working in the business to make life a little bit easier. Now, I'm not a huge fan, like I said, of always working in the business, but we do need to. So kind of check yourself and make sure that at least once a week, maybe do a reminder and say, hey, have I reconciled my books? Have I sent those invoices? Have I followed up to make sure I got paid? Because the other thing you have to do is you need to make sure that those invoices you sent out, that your customers are paying you. You don't want to work for free. You don't want to be 5, 6 invoices in on a customer and find out they're not paying you. Well, why are you still doing the work for them? So again, this is just some of the things to do to help you kind of keep your books in order and keep your business running smoothly.
Yeah, I think there's some good examples there. One is use template. It is very helpful to use templates wherever possible. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There have been a billion bills and invoices done over the years. So just find something that looks good for you. And you don't need to get super fancy, but you can put something together. Like Michael said, you can find a really good template, put a logo on there. You're off and running. You don't have to worry about it. We're tracking invoices and payments is very critical. I will have customers that I've had for a long time, will regularly have stuff where I will send stuff out. For example, let's say I'm sending things out every 2 weeks, but I know from how they do stuff, they roughly pay once a month. There are times that I will look and I'll say, okay, this is what I'm expecting. And they'll pay an invoice or two, and there's an older invoice that didn't get hit. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That to me is like a red flag that you didn't pay this older invoice, so did it get lost? And usually I'm usually very helpful and say, by the way, here is that older invoice, just to be sure. And there are a lot of things where it's like I've got one right now that I hate to call somebody out, but literally hey, I'm putting the check in the mail today, like a week ago, and I haven't seen the check yet. And so I'm going to look and see what comes in the mail tomorrow. And if not, if I don't see it, I'm going to be like, hey, you said the check is in the mail. Did that actually get into the mail? Because also now this is like one of those things, and this is actually, I think, sometimes a problem for your customers too, is if you do this and like, oh, I didn't catch it. And now they're like, for this case, now they've got 2 invoices and they're like, there's more that they need to put out right now to pay out than maybe they were expecting, because maybe they weren't paying attention to what they needed to do as well. Obviously they weren't, because normally they should expect that, oh, I'm going to pay $1,000 out to this vendor, let's say. And if you don't that month, usually they're going to say, hey, did you forget to invoice me? Which I have seen that a couple of times before as well. And you don't want to say, oh yeah, I forgot to invoice you, because you just don't sound as professional. You are better off, I have found, going through this stuff, follow up on it, is do the regular follow-ups based on your agreements and things like that. You don't have to hound them. You don't have to like send them off to collections or send cousin Vito over there to like, smash their kneecaps, but you do want to stay on top of it. And there is a point, like Michael said, and I have literally early on got into a situation where they kept saying, yep, we'll get it. 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 And I suddenly had 3 months of work that was not paid. And I was like, I have to stop. I was like, I love working for you guys. I love the rate and everything else. I was like, but I can't afford to continue to wait for you guys to actually pay me. And when they did, it was all kinds of issues, because I got all this money at once from 3 months and then had to deal with everything. So be sure that you're keeping on it, that you're pushing with them. And I was. And so it's also have in the back of your mind, like in some of those cases, some sort of a threshold. It's like, if I get to this point and they're still not giving me the answers I need, i.e., a check or a payment into my account, then you need to say, hey, we have gone beyond what I'm comfortable with. And early on with a new customer, particularly, just say, I'm sorry, but trust but verify. I haven't worked with you, nothing personal. This is just business. This is how we do it, and follow that stuff up. Because yes, as you get further in and you know a customer, then it's a little easier and you just sort of things start to flow. But early on, you want to make sure that all of those things that you communicated are followed through on. That being said, one of the things that we have communicated over and over and over and over again is to send us an email at info@developernorder.com. Please give us some feedback, because especially now as we're wrapping up one season and we're going to go into the next season is going to be regular nuggets of information and action items and challenges and things like that to really build better developers, to talk about how do we build better developers, including ourselves. So there's a lot of these, if not all of them, that we will be part of these challenges that we are going to put out, and these lessons learned and these ways that we can be better. So we would love to have from you options to that. Is like, what are some of your opinions? What are some suggestions that you have? Particularly, what are some of the things that you do on a regular basis to keep yourself current or make yourself better? Because we all have them, particularly as we get further into our careers. Once you get through those first few years where you're just drinking from a fire hose all the time, there is that point where you're like, okay, I'm ready now to like control my own destiny a little bit. And now you have to push yourself. You have to go find the ways that you're going to grow to get to where you want to be. That being said, hang out with us and continue to grow with us, to listen to this podcast, to give us feedback wherever you can. And we would love to hear from you as we're wrapping this one up. But for now, go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
So one of the things you mentioned, which I think is kind of a really good bonus topic, is you were talking about, it took 3 months to finally get that check or payments in, and then you had to go reconcile and everything. For those of you just starting out or having a side hustle or just want to avoid fees, one of the things that I have found recently is most banks now use or accept Zilly Pay, where you can actually pay a customer or an expense straight from your business account to another customer's bank account. So you don't even have to cut the check. You literally can do an electronic transfer from your account to their account with no fees. So that's one way to get paid sooner or pay some of your customers sooner without fees. Some of the other things is you can get a commercial account through your bank to accept credit cards at a low interest rate. You can take Vimeo. You can do WePay. There are other apps out there to get payments quickly without having to go through all the hoops and hoopla. But at the end of the day, you want to get paid for your skills. So try to set up tools and reminders to help the process. So if you send out an invoice and the customer gets it and it's not due for 30 days, so it may sit there for 30 days. Some apps like QuickBooks, Wave apps will allow you to send a reminder 7 days before the payment's due, 1 day before the payment's due, 1 day after the payment, and so on. What's cool about those is they'll also send it to your email. So you'll get a notification as well. Oh, hey, you haven't been paid yet. Follow up with the customer. So use software and automation to help streamline these tools.
Two quick things. One is, take a look when you get paid. You will get paid different ways, and take a look at when you do get paid, because some of these are using services much like Michael referred to. A lot of them, the way they're set up is that you can get paid in 5 days or a week, whatever the full amount is, or you can pay a fee and get it immediately. And you don't want to get it. You don't want to do the get it immediately, because it's going to cost. It's just going to be like 1%, which is not a lot, but it's something to note that if you are pressed for cash, or you get in a cash flow issue or something like that with your business, then a lot of times there is an option to pull it in a little bit faster so that you can pay your bills. The other thing is, when you're sending bills, when you're sending invoices, A way that I've found that is really good is I've talked before about doing regular statuses. I do a weekly status. Typically, I bill every other week, which works out great because what happens is that weekly status will go hit their email. And then basically 5 minutes later, I will send the invoice for the last couple of weeks and say, hey, by the way, here's your latest invoice. And or here's your latest invoice and the three others you haven't paid yet. Let me know if you have any questions, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Have a good week. It's that kind of stuff. Here's a bill. Enjoy your week. So you can always sort of put good news and bad news together in that little, in a couple of emails. I would not, wrap sort of a follow-up to that. Do not put the invoice. If you have something like that where you're emailing communication, do a separate email for the invoice. It is way too easy if you include it with something else that it gets put somewhere it doesn't, it gets lost or something like that. Always do a separate email. And if you have to follow up, you can go back and do a reply with that or a forward or whatever you need to from that email. And that will help you out quite a bit. What will also help you out quite a bit is us wrapping this one up. So we're going to wrap up this episode. We will come back next time. It will actually be our penultimate, I think it is, penultimate episode, because we're going to do that one and we're going to come up with the season wrap up, and then we will jump into season 23. So crazy. I'm still like a little bit like rocked by that. It's like, that's a lot. Like I said, that's like, I think that's twice the 10 episodes that most podcasts last in seasons, not in episodes. So go out there and have yourself a good one. As always, leave us comments, leave us email, contact us form out at developinor.com. Obviously, it's gone on too long, so go have yourself a good one, and we'll talk to you next time.